when y'all heading back toward the big... It's about a minute after. Brother Ken asked me if I would sit in this class. Hope we don't try to hurt nothing, mess up nothing, but we're going to talk about that tonight in the book of Proverbs. I think it's at chapter 17 and 18. We'll go over some of those things and look a little more insightful. But before we do that, Sister Bailey has asked that after services tonight, if any one of us could, who can stay for a little bit, can go and help set up tables and chairs in the multi-purpose room for our upcoming festivities this week. So if you can do that, if we get a large number of us, we won't stay back there, won't have to be there very long, and we won't have to move too many tables as well. So I hope that if you can stay for 4 or 5 minutes to do that, I know she would appreciate it, and that will make it a whole lot more convenient for us to get ready for a meeting this week. Brother Ken is away on vacationing and asked me to stand in, and I'll do just that. Before we do, if you don't mind, let's go to our God in prayer, if you don't mind. Eternal God in heaven, we're so grateful that you've allowed us to rise from our beds this morning and clothed within our right mind, strong enough to be able to move along, to do some things that we had planned to do. We're so thankful for all the people who are in our lives, who encourage us, who motivate us, who strengthen us. Encourage us to be all that we can be. We ask for all of us tonight, we have our minds open, receptive to the word, because we understand that they is the one that will build us up and will also give us an inheritance among all those whom are sanctified. We pray, dear God, that we'll leave this place enthused and that we will go out and positively impact the lives of others. So in the name of Jesus, we thank you. Amen. Proverbs chapter 17. I gave a brief little handout. We're going to try to deal with this in a different way. Brother Ken has a way of keeping up with all of that, going over and back and forth. It's a little more difficult for me to keep up like that. So I just want to kind of approach it from a thematic kind of a way. We just go by those 2 chapters and the verses that mention those 2 particular subject matters. And that's what we would do that like that. Perhaps we can move a little faster and give us a lot more time for some interaction and to come up with some solution to some things and challenges to some things, some strategies that we could come up with to help us as we live out these proverbs, right? It simply means something, words that brings us forward, moves us forward in life, help us to make good decisions, to build strong relationship, not only with others, but with God and even with ourselves. 17 and 18 tonight is what we were supposed to be going over. And I went through some themes to go those chapters that deals with those, and hopefully that we can move forward with it. We're in chapter number 17 and 18. We're going to look at it. Marriage, family, and relationship building. So we'll go back and forth, 17, 18, according to the themes. and then we'll look at those particular passages that addresses those, and then hopefully we can really kind of dig into those things as far as that is concerned. Well, marriage, family, and relationship building. Those one of the things that he dealt with within our chapters. So, emotional wellness and cognitive development. Yes, he talks about that. Personal development, communication skill. He even talks about politics and subjects such as equity and justice and things like that. So, Lady Wisdom moved this man, Solomon, and these people to write these words down. So it's not just coming from a good person who's very knowledgeable in the ways of the world, who has a philosophic approach to life, but it's somebody who's inspired by God to write these things down. And it's amazing they even guide us today. They're just as powerful today as they were then. Now, all scriptures are given by what now? Yeah, the inspiration of God. And they're profitable, right? So it's going to help me. I'm going to get something from it. It's profitable for doctrine, for correction, and instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete. We're going to be furnished unto every good work. So I believe these words have the rich say that come from God. Let's look at this parenting, Proverbs 18. Let's look at number 22. We're going to move on to that one. One of the greatest things that I could ever think about relationship, other than that of Christ and our relationship with him, as often indicated by as a marriage, is that God really gives us good insights as to marriage, what it should be like and what it ought to be, and how it is to bring out the best in one another, and how we ought to mean something good to one another. Proverbs 18:22, if anybody wants to read that, now let's look at that, because I just think, how many of y'all in here married? Just about everybody. I mean, what do you think about it? I mean, after you said I do, and you came down and you did those vows and everything like that, and you swore your love for one another, you made those vows, and did you not think that she was the most beautiful bride that you could ever see? Did you not think that he was one of the most handsome men that you ever could see? And you said, listen, I don't know, and I don't know if she realizes or if he realizes just how much they mean to me, you know, and just how they have impacted my life for the good. Let's look at Proverbs 18, if you don't mind. Verse number 22. Someone who wants to read that for us in there? And now that we get around, if I can find it. Proverbs. Everybody don't have to go at once. Proverbs 18, you know. The man said, don't volunteer, I will volunteer. Verse 22, listen what it says. Whosoever findeth a wife does what? Find it good, and obtaineth favor, where? From the Lord. So the ideal of it is, if you find a wife, you found good. I mean, you're talking about being rich. You're talking about somebody blessing your life. I mean, you can't put a price tag on her because she means so much to you, right? You can't put a price tag on him because he means so much to you. So the ideal of it is that whosoever find a wife, find it good. It's not just, I done lucked up on someone, but I found something good, someone who brings good in my life and brings out the good in me. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that's probably the way you're looking at it. Marriage is a beautiful thing because God even said it's not good for man to be alone, right? And made him a helpmeet that was somebody that was suitable for him, somebody that complimented him, somebody that brought out the best in him. It's not just somebody saying, well, you know, I'm nothing without you. No, I'm more with you than I am without you. So we're complementary of people. They bring out the best in you. They add something to your life, and you add something, bring something into theirs. Am I right about that or what? Is that the way your relationship has been? You look at this marriage thing. God sees it as a beautiful thing, and that's the way it should be. We ought to love our spouses, and we ought to love them like Christ loved the church, right? I mean, he waited on it, he built it, and he laid the foundation for it so that it would be all that he thought it would be and that it should be. God worked on that. That's what relationships are all about, laying that foundation so you can actually really build a relationship, a long-lasting, beneficial, mutually beneficial relationship. It's not one side. Anybody? Am I right or am I wrong about that? He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor with the Lord and from the Lord, because that's the way God wants it to be. And I get favor from the Lord. And that's what marriage is all about, isn't it? And we ought to always do what? Rejoice with the wife or with the husband of the youth. We don't need nobody playing around. We don't need nobody playing the field. We just need people just giving it all they got to one another. Is that where it is? You're just looking for that person, just me and you, right? Going through these ups and downs, these wind blowings, we're going to make it. We're not going to let anybody disrupt us. So we'll look at those things that he talks about marriage in chapter 18, about how this man should view his spouse, right? And he should find good. Now, some of you men, I hope you feel that way. Said, I tell you what, man, I hit the jackpot when she said, yes, I will. Boy, I hit the jackpot. And I'm rejoicing with the wife that I use. How many of you have been married 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, more than that? How many people have been 40, 50 years? I mean, do you still find it? You still find this relationship, but I mean, just a beneficial relationship, something different, something good. It even brings out the best in you. Or does it just get old and just tired and it's out? That's not the way it's supposed to be, right? So it's supposed to be something that you're growing in, they're growing in. It is always moving forward. It's not getting to the point to where we just putting up with one another, but we're simply just still standing and having this great admiration for one another. So we ought to rejoice as time goes, just getting started, moving forward. And then about 20 years, if I'm still around, God's will, I'll be asking you, and saying, I want to see your smile still smiling or not when you look at her. Then I'll be saying, yes, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the relationship that God wants us to have. And I hope we'll do just that. Well, could someone give me Proverbs chapter 5, please, if you don't mind? 15. Can you get that for me, brother? Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15. We're talking about how we're going to do it, move forward with it, get done, marriage, relationship. I'm trying to make this thing right, and I want to be right, and I want to be faithful, right? I want to be loyal, no one's stealing my heart, and no one's taking my body. Everything I have dedicated to her. And everything you should have dedicated to him. There's no outside playing, no outside goings on. You just dedicated to one another, and you're rejoicing as the years come and go. You're rejoicing with the wife of your youth. You continue to do that. Some of us have experienced the losses of our spouses, but you know what? You may not be with them in body, but you're still with them in spirit. I mean, you still love them. You still, with them in that sense. So the idea of it is that we ought to be faithful. We ought to love them, take them for the meaning that they bring in our life and for the values that they bring in our life. I think that'll do it. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 5, beginning right there. So we're talking about that. I just want to mention this as he talked about us being faithful, rejoicing with the wife of our youth, and not getting caught up in doing anything that's destructive to the relationship, right? Okay. Proverbs 5, if you don't mind, if you start verse 15 for me. You going to start for me, guys? Read that for me. Mm-hmm. Yes. Drink waters where? out of your cistern and not where. So what windows, what waters? Anybody? What water are we talking about? What cistern are we talking about? We do know what a cistern is, right? We know what a cistern is, right? I learned that when I went out and stayed with my with my great uncle Charlie out in the country. I didn't know what that was, but he had a cistern. He had this thing set up, boy, where he can catch the water. The ideal of it is he sees his wife as someone who's refreshing. He sees his wife as somebody who really brings life to his life. And he simply said, drink water out of your what? Own cistern. So what's he saying? What's he telling them? We rejoice with the wife of our youth, and we ought to drink water. She is the one who quenches your thirst. She is the one that feeds your soul. She's the one. And so therefore, men folk, we ought to be ever so faithful and never step outside that marital relationship at all. He simply said that. Isn't that what he said? Drink water out of their own cistern. I think that's what he said. And out of their own well. Let your fountain be dispersed. Don't let the fountain be dispersed and rivers of waters in the street. What are you talking about? Rivers of water in the street. Come on, I know you know. Yeah, okay, that ain't good, is it? They're going to be waters in the street. So how many people you know that stepped outside their marital bond and they went to that side trying to quench their thirst, and they do that and they have waters running in the street? You ever know that somebody said, well, you know what? He got some other children over on this side of town. She got some children on that side of town. So we got waters running where? In the street. The ideal of it is that you need to understand that there are consequences of going outside the marital bond and crossing that emotional and that physical, intimate boundary. And when you do that, we're going to have some issues. We're going to have some problems, right? Is that not what he said? Let me look at this again. I can't see too well. He said, let thy fountain be dispersed abroad and rivers of waters in the street. Let them be only thine own and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. So we're going to be faithful. Going to walk outside the bond. We're going to find and feel all of our emotional, spiritual, social, and physical needs with our spouses. We're not going anywhere else. Can't find it anywhere else. We can't find what we're looking for. Here she is. And that's what we ought to be doing. And women, folk, the same thing. We ought to find what we're looking for in our spouses. Anybody have any questions? Comment? We don't want to be having no waters. Where are the waters now? In the what? Y'all can speak it. In the street. We don't want nothing in the street. Okay. So we're going to keep the waters in the street. So these are family relations that he talks about in these two chapters. And I'm going to leave it at that so he can talk about it in other places. He just told me to talk about 17, 18. That's my instruction, and that's what I'm going to do. Just stop it right here and there where we go. So we got the family. We got the relationship. We need to work on that and talk with each other and let each other know where you are, what your needs are, what your expectations are. You ought to be able to sit down and talk about those things so that no one else has your ear and no one else catches your eye, okay? If we can do that, I think our relationships will be stronger. Anybody has somebody saying something? Okay. All right. So now we go down to the parent-child relation. How many of y'all got children? How many of you are going to have some children? And some of them say, boy, I tell you what, I wish them children were gone, you know. Ideal of it is parenting. Is that a tough one? Has that been a tough one for you? Was it just an easy breeze, no problem, no stumbling, no hiccups or nothing like that? Has parenting been an easy job for you, or has it been frustrating every now and then? Did it cause you any problem? That when you get up there and simply say, boy, them some hard-headed children. what's wrong with them. But sometimes parenting isn't easy. It's an emotional thing. Physical, draining, emotionally draining. Yes, parenting isn't easy, as you know already. You've listened, you've heard other folks talk about it. It's not easy, but it's tough. Let's look at Proverbs 17:25. Proverbs 17:25, and somebody look at that. Proverbs 17:25. So we got parent and child relationship. Some of us have good relationship with our children. Some of us perhaps wish it was better than what it was. And some of us are looking forward for it to grow as time goes, right? Proverbs 17:25. Here's one we talk about it. Children can bring, they bring you some happiness, and sometimes they can bring you some sadness, right? You can expect some letdowns. They make you feel real good, and they do, and they may say and do some things or not say or do some things that really make you feel down. It really pulls at your emotional, cord a little bit, and it causes some little issues and problems. But the ideal of it is there have been more smiles than there have been frowns. I believe that be the case. Proverbs 17:25 says what? It doesn't say that. We had to read. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bear him. Boy, that's something. A foolish son. He doesn't have a lot of wisdom. He doesn't make great choices. Well, we can turn that coin. An unwise daughter, an unwise son is a grief to his father and bitterness to her who bore him. Now, we're going to have to all admit, parenting, man, I tell you what, it hadn't always been good days, has it? It hadn't always been smiles and look at her, look at him. It always has been some crying too, hasn't it? Frustration, hasn't it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult time, well, it be in this sense of, in the sense of parenting through that means, or just from a biological, and when they just say or don't say, do or don't do some things, it hurts. It hurts you because your major thing, you want to see everything go well. Is that not right? You want to see them go through their developmental stages just flying with flying colors. But it doesn't always happen. They don't always make the right choice. They don't always do the right thing. And sometimes when they don't, it's a hurting thing. I don't know how many of us, you look back later, you think about how much pain you perhaps have caused your parents on some occasion. But that happened. But a child, a son who doesn't have wisdom, haven't thought about anything, as you would say right there, Paul, is that some people just don't do that. They just don't have those good decision-making skills. They just constantly do this, or they just have it in their mind, a little stubbornness. I might know a little bit of that coming up myself. A little stubbornness that will bring about a lot of grief to the father, bitterness to the mother. When you think about bitterness, what do you think about? When you think about bitterness, here's the people. Bitterness. I'm grieving, I'm pain, I'm crying, I don't know what to do, and then you got bitterness to her who bore his mom. Bitter. It's the opposite of being sweet, isn't it? It ain't going well. Mom not smiling. That's a tough time, and sometimes parenting is difficult. And I know you have your children, they are grown and gone, and you're thinking about later on, it's a tough one. So we got problem with the family at that time. But I do believe the Bible teaches us we can work with that. We can deal with that. And but that's the way life is, okay? What about grandparenting? Let's look at 17:6. Grandparenting, parenting, it's an honor, I do believe, but it can have its little issues every now and then. But then again, you got to think about yourself. How many times you probably, we had your mom just shaking her head. That boy done got on my nerve. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with her. That happens every now and then. And now, since you don't know how much grief and pain you cause them, when you start you're having your children, you get on up. Then when something happened, then you start thinking, oh, man, now I know how mom and dad felt about this thing. Now I know how they feel. Children's children are a crown of old men. And the glory of children is a father. Grandparenting. I'm not there yet. Man, but I sit there and I see you all and I can just imagine how it is. How many of y'all are grandparents? All right. How you feel about that? I mean, did that just really I've been told, said, man, said, John, just wait till you get some grandchildren. I said, that's all I can do is wait. That's all I can do. But they said, it's a whole different world, a grandchild. You're sitting there, you see them, and you see this child from your child, and it's a total different thing. Now, I don't know about you, but my mom was different when my sister had some children, and every time my sister tried to discipline her children, my mom was always intervene. She said, don't be whipping her, don't be touching her, don't do anything. So my sister would say, well, what's wrong with you? She said, when we were coming up, you whoop us every day. so parents see that different. Grandchildren is that right? Is that true? That's what I'm hearing. That is totally different. It's a different world. Nothing like being a grandparent. Is that true? Well, it's a lot of, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. Socioeconomic reasons and things like that comes into that, and grandparents have to step up for whatever reason it may be. And I've seen some, they become the parent de facto. They become their parent rather than the grandparent role. But children are a crown of old men. I mean, you sit up there, who's prouder? I mean, and look at the lady, look at that, and the glory of children. Just to think about, that is it. Here I am. I'm a parent, and I have grandchildren. I have seen grandparents. When I see them, most of them are smiling. They just really just love to have the grandson, the granddaughter, just carrying them around and doing things like that. Grandparenting is a good thing, don't you think? So if it is, let's rejoice in that. So hopefully a lot more of us get to experience that great in time. For whatever reason, there are some more grandparents raising their children for different reasons. And as far as that, and that works out pretty well. Anybody got any input on that? Who got the grandparents? Yes.
John, I was afraid, and it's becoming more prevalent as days go by, that grandparents have had to assume the role of parents.
Uh-huh.
Because the parents don't want to be parents.
Mm.
So it's more or less left up to the grandparents to assume their role.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like raising a second family.
Mm.
So I think that's a problem in our society.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say it contributes to crime per se,
Mm-hmm.
but I think a lot of times that
Yeah.
grandparents have to do what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
They do the best they can.
Yes.
And hopefully you've done it right.
Done it right. And that's a great thing. I mean, you're able to come in and do that. You wish that wouldn't have to be the case, and you could, stay within that grandparent role, so, you can do all you want, have a lot of fun with your and then call them back, come over here and get this boy right now. Then that's where you don't have to worry about him no more. You can call him all the time, Sister Ferguson, and say, hey, come over here and get him now. Come and get him now. But the ideal of it is that just the pride of seeing your child's child. Man, that's a beautiful thing. And men took pride in that. Children's children. Crown of old men. I mean, that's it. Everybody asks, you got any grandchildren? You got any pictures? I got a couple. Then they open it up, they go all the way down to the floor. They love their grandchildren, and boy, that's a beautiful thing, a beautiful sight, right? So hopefully we think about that. God gives us some instructions of how to be good at grandparenting and at parenting itself. That's a tough one. Parenting, does it ever end? Does parenting ever end? Just asking. Does it? This ain't no trick question. Does parenting ever end? No, it doesn't. So you always parent, right? So, and if you're a child, your obligation is to allow them to parent you, no matter how old you are. You say, well, I've moved out. I got my own family. I got children over here. Yes, but that's still your mother. Let her parent you. That's still your father. Let him parent you. Parenting doesn't mean they make your decision, does it? Or what does parenting mean? I mean, your mother's still your parent if you still have them alive. My mama called me and said, John, I said, yes, ma'am. I was just thinking. I said, what are you thinking, Mama? I thought, it'd be good if you would do something. She'd tell me what, like this and that. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mom. I said, we were talking about it, and what I'm going to do, we're going to talk now, and I'll get back with you. She said, okay, son, I just thought I'd mention it. What was I doing? I was letting her parent me. We didn't end up doing what she had suggested, but I told her, I said, we got two things we're trying to decide to do, Mom. We're going to try this first, and if it doesn't work, then we're going to come back, and we're going to look again into what you had mentioned. She said, okay, son, Mama just trying to help. I said, oh, you sure have helped me. What have I done? I've allowed her to do what? Parent me. Even though I'm long and gone and grown, have my own family, I still allowed her to parent me. She didn't make my decision, but I allowed her to parent me. And that's what we need to learn to do. We need to learn how to allow our parents to parent. And because that's for life. We don't give up on that. That doesn't change. When you get 18 or 22 or you out of the house, that never changes. You still allow mom and dad to parent. What do y'all think about that? You say, oh, no, John, we ain't going to do that, right? All right, we don't want to get past that. We want to get past the sorrow. We want to get past and working on doing the other thing. There was some interpersonal relationship. Let's take off on that right quick. I told him, 45 minutes, I can't do that. I'm in bad shape. Interpersonal relationship. Listen to what it says in 17:17. Somebody read that. It said, a friend does what? Love it at all times, and a brother is born for what? Adversity. All right. Is there any exception that love should not be a part of your relationship? You got any friends? Or do we just got some associates? People who just hang around, They come around and get what they can get and then move on. Now, everybody, I always tell everyone, I said, everybody is not intended, nor are they capable of being my friend. Why would you say that? They don't have that stick-to-itiveness. They don't have that self-sacrifice. They're not willing to give their all so that I can be my all. They're not willing to do that. So I have to look at other people. A friend love it at all time. There's no exception. Do you think, is there any time your friend shouldn't love you? Is there any time that he shouldn't be there when adversity comes? Or she? Maybe you'll find out that she is not the friend. She's a good associate, though. She's a good person to sit down and chat and holler about the news or did I see the movie the other night, and we're going about our business. But that's not everybody's friend material. So we need to find out. A friend of love at all times, and a brother is born for what? Adversity. Now, what would be the difference between a fair weather friend and a foul weather friend? I'm just making up some terms here as I go, but it sounds all right. What would be the difference between a fair weather friend and a foul weather friend? What would be the difference? Is what? Reliability. And where would that be? The fair weather or the foul weather? What kind of friend you want? Fair weather, foul weather? I want a foul weather friend when nothing's going right. That's what it says. Adversity. I want a foul weather friend, not a fair one, a foul one. When everything just gone, everything hitting the wall, everything's up on me crumbling. I want a foul weather friend, not a fair weather friend. Actually, there's no such thing as a fair weather friend. So they really aren't. So what we're looking for? A foul weather friend. They are born for a what now? Adversity. We want to make sure we get through adversity, and I want to make sure that we have a good friend and that I am being a friend to them. So let's not be associates, not be tag-alongers. We don't want to be fair weather. We want to be what kind of weather? F-O-U-L. What kind of weather? Foul weather. That's what you want. You want something when everything's not going right, when they're taking some hits and smashes in life. That's what you want in your corner when people are getting hit, knocked down, stepped on. Those are the kind of friends you need. You need people when that's happening, not when everything's going well, when there's no trial to do that. That's the kind of friend you got? If you don't, we need to try to make some. And the ideal of it is we need to show ourselves to be what we ought to be. Proverbs 18:24. Be a real friend. If I feel like you're supposed to be, if I think you are, then be what the word indicates. Be what it indicates. If you say a friend, then you're going to have one. You got a friend in me. Can anybody say that you're their friend and they know you're going to be there? Oh, you do that. You do that. So is that right? So if you know it's going to do it, then we're fine. If we don't, a man who has friends must show himself how? But there is a friend who does what? So friendship doesn't have anything to do about blood, right? They said blood's thicker than water. Sometimes. It all depends on what you're trying to drink, right? Blood is thicker than water, not all the time. But I want somebody that's sticking closer than a brother. It has nothing to do about my fleshly brother. Yeah, we might have the same mother, but we just don't have that same love. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we come from her. She birthed us both, but no, that ain't working. That ain't doing so well. But you need to be a friend who stick closer than a brother. Forget about all the time. I wish it was well that fleshly, biologically, your brothers and you would be along well. But my major thing is to be thinking about somebody who's thicker, closer than that. He is real friend. We need to have some good friends. And some of us, we settle for associate. We need to be emotionally well. Proverbs 17:22 says, a merry heart doth good, like a medicine. How many of us are emotionally well and healthy? Well, the Bible tells us we need to do that. When I'm not healthy emotionally, when I am not well, it's a bad thing happening. Not only for me, but it's not that I would actively do something to harm somebody, but I am not able to emotionally contribute to anybody. A merry heart does good, like medicine. But a broken spirit does what? Dry the bone. So the ideal of it is it talks about emotional, mental wellness, and it's coming from the Bible. It's not a book on psychology, but everything it says about psychology is true. All it tells us about the interactions of it doesn't give a name to it. It just tells us what is behavior. You're not talking about names and themes, but a merry heart does good. I tell you what, if my emotion is not intact, if they're not well, it drains you physically. You tend to notice more aches and pain. Physically, you tend not to have the energy. You tend not to have that motivation when your heart is not good, when your spirit is broken. It actually takes away from your very life, like the marrow of the bones. And when you start having issues like that, we got some problems. But the Bible talks about that. And that's off subject. We don't talk about my mental health. We don't talk about my emotional wellness. We don't do that. We keep that a secret and sometimes hold it undercover. And sometimes when we do find out, the problem has really festered. And boy, that's a tough one. So let's think about it. A good merry heart, my emotional well-being. Yes, God want me to be healthy? Yeah. God want me to do the right thing? Yeah. If it doesn't happen, I'm in trouble. So think about that, your emotional well-being. We get checkups for everything. Check up on that. Check up on your heart. Check up on your emotion. Make sure we do some things that's right. Right? All right. So let's think about it. Deal with us. I don't know. This Bible is beautiful, and I'm sitting talking about it on a daily basis. I'm just so excited about that. And I said, man, this is some good stuff that we're not a lot of time really looking into. Anybody any question about that mental wellness? How we can be better? And sometimes we come to church. That's about the best we do emotionally that day. We hear a good song. We hear some good, strong, heart-warming prayer. We may have a good short, when I'm not preaching, so it won't be so long, a good, powerful lesson. That does your heart good like a medicine. You walk out and say, boy, I feel a whole lot better about it. I'm moving, things are happening, and I'm feeling good about it. So we need to think about our whole being. We ought to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and with all our strength. Every aspect, we need to be healthy holistically in every part of our being. And so if we're not, then if I'm not at my ultimate, I can't bring out the ultimate in others. So we all are setting it back. We all are losing out. Any questions about that? You tell Brother Ken, I can't go do that stuff fast like that. But we need to do that. And make sure that you're thinking about yourself. If you want somebody else to grow, you need to grow. Turn with me to Proverbs 3, please. Proverbs 17:3. Oh, he's doing well at that. So the idea of this in New King James Version is that I need to get ready. It's me. Have you felt yourself changing? I'm not talking about your hair turning gray. Mine falling out, man. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we change. And I mean, we ought to change internally who we are, right? Where we are. I'm 40 plus, so I'm totally different. Is that 45 minutes? 1 minute, okay. The refining pot, the refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests what? The heart. What do you do out refining pot? What are you trying to do? Well, you're trying to take away the what? Impurities, yes. You're trying to take away the impurity. That's where we are as far as with us. God puts us off in his fire, and we're refining it. We're coming out of this better. We're coming out with all the stuff that's gone, floating out, moving out. But the Lord tests the heart. So every time I put myself off in God's fire, and I'd allow him to just purify me, I come out of this thing a whole lot better, a whole lot stronger. I learned a lot about me. I thought this, but now I know this. I felt like I could do this, but now I know I can do that. So I'm learning. And when I'm looking at the Bible, and I'm looking at it, the refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold. But the Lord tests the heart. God's trying to find out who we are, and perhaps the ideal of it is we may find out that we have strengths that we didn't even know about. We may find out we have interests we don't even know about. But it's through the crucible of trials and heat and fire that allow the bad to leave and the good to come forth. All right. Well, I tell you what, you tell Brother Ken that 45 minutes go too quick or else I'm too slow. But anyway, look over the rest of the other about communications and just think about those particular chapters. As he come back here, probably rehearse that again. But I appreciate your participation. That was helpful to me, and thank you for being in here. Thank you so much.